The Big 12 is wide open. I think Utah's the favorite, but would I paint them as a heavy odds-on favorite? No. They're my pick to win the league. But no, they are not some massive, peak Clemson favorite in the ACC where Florida State was down and they were playing teams like Virginia in the ACC title game and whatnot. It's not that sort of situation. But the Big 12 is certainly gettable. It is incredibly gettable for a number of teams. And TCU's trying to re-adjudicate themselves into that conversation because they burst onto the scene with Sonny Dykes in year one. 13-2, national championship game appearance. Didn't actually win the Big 12 title game, but got into the playoff, beat Michigan, got blasted by Georgia. Heck of a year, probably the best in the history of TCU football. Literally playing for a national championship. Didn't get there, but guess what? And Georgia was very good. Georgia was very, very good. And so going into year three, TCU's coming off a season in which they didn't even make a bowl game. Did not even make a bowl game. You talk about going from the top of the mountaintop to closer to the bottom. What do you even feel right now if you're a TCU fan? National championship game to 5-7? Was that a fluke? Was that a flash in the pan? Here's what I do know. If you want to feel good about Sonny Dykes going forward as the long-term head coach for the TCU Horned Frogs, he's got to be able to at least deliver an 8-9 win season this year because the Big 12 is incredibly, incredibly gettable. Oklahoma and Texas are not in your way. You've brought in Arizona State, which is a rebuilding team. Arizona, who historically has had a ceiling. They've got key returners, but they've also lost players and they lost their head coach. Colorado, whose win total is criminally low at 4.5. Go bet the over at FanDuel. I'm telling you right now, that's free money. And Utah, who are one of the favorites. Combine that with the 4 group of 5 teams you brought in the year prior, BYU, UCF, Houston, Cincinnati. One of them made a bowl game. That was UCF, and they lost that bowl game. This conference is incredibly winnable if you're capable of playing at a solidly high level. And TCU has the tools to be a Big 12 contender. The question is whether or not Sonny Dykes will have his team prepared on Saturdays. Because this is a TCU team that took a step back a season ago. Their offense had a little bit of fluctuation at the quarterback position. Chandler Morris couldn't stay healthy again. That was certainly part of the problem. Here was the other part of the problem. Their defense was not good. And in 2 years under Sonny Dykes, it has never been good. They've allowed 29 and about 28 points per game in the 2 respective seasons since Sonny Dykes came over from SMU. Well, guess what? The Horned Frogs have attacked that weakness in the transfer portal. Going to other Power 4 or 5 schools or high-level G5 schools like the Mountain West or the American, they have added 11, count them 11 defensive transfers. It's not going to be a brand new starting lineup across the board, but when you add 11 transfers, it's a top 15 transfer portal class overall, according to 24/7 Sports. When 11 of them are on the defensive side of the ball, that tells me something. That tells me something that I want to see from coaching staffs when they undergo a season in which things are not going well in a particular area. I want to see you attack your weaknesses hard. That's what the transfer portal and the coaching carousel and the coordinator carousel are for. And TCU is the second team to make these sorts of changes, and I am high on both of them. TCU's one, USC is the other. USC went and got UCLA's stud defensive coordinator, D'Anton Lynn. They added an all-conference player in Easton Mascarenas Arnold at linebacker from Oregon State. They added his younger brother, Achille Arnold, who's a safety. They bring in Kamari Ramsey from UCLA along with the defensive coordinator, D'Anton Lynn himself, and another player or two from the Bruins' great defense from a season ago. Those are 2 teams that can score points. Sonny Dykes teams, Lincoln Riley teams, no problem scoring points, no matter who is back there. But the defense has not been there. Just has not been good, consistent enough. And what did TCU do this offseason? Just like USC, they went out and hired Andy Avalos, who was relieved of his duties as the head coach at Boise State. Prior to being the head coach in Boise, where he did not live up to expectations as an alum. He was the defensive coordinator at Oregon. Do you know what Oregon was good at when he was a defensive coordinator? Defense. They were good at defense. The 2019 Oregon Ducks won the Pac-12 championship. They beat an 11-1 Utah team in the title game. They beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. They had a 12-win season. They had Justin Herbert at quarterback. He wasn't fully developed into what he is now in the NFL, though he was good. Oregon had a great offensive line. They did not have a great offensive scheme. But you know what they had? One heck of a defense. And yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau was on that team as a true freshman, but he was very good. That Oregon secondary was tremendously well coached and one of the best the Ducks have had in the last 10, 15 years. On par with what Oregon had this year, and they had one of the best defenses statistically in the Pac-12 and one of the 15 best in all of college football. So for Andy Avalos to be the hire here, I absolutely love. I absolutely love this hire for TCU. Joe Gillespie did some great things at Tulsa. It didn't translate over to TCU. Avalos is going to bring a 4-2-5 defensive scheme. That's what he likes to run to Dallas-Fort Worth and to the Horned Frogs defense. And with 11 transfer players from either really quality G5 or Power 4 programs, this can be a completely different unit, and TCU can move in a different direction on that side of the football than what they have over the previous couple of years. Now, the next question you have to ask yourself is, what about the quarterback position? Because Chandler Morris plays for the Mean Green of North Texas now. Well, the most likely, though not only option, they added a quarterback from Vanderbilt as well. There was another one on the roster. The most likely quarterback option is Josh Hoover, who was a redshirt freshman this past year. The last 4 games he played, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, not amazing numbers on the surface, but he was over 300 yards passing in every single game. And if you go listen to Locked On TCU, they tell you, yeah, this should be Josh Hoover's team. And if it is, and if he realizes his potential and that defense improves, this is not a Big 12 that scares me to the point where TCU couldn't at least be in the mix. Because if you have enough pieces, you don't have to be a legitimate playoff contender to be a conference contender in the Big 12. And TCU can turn things around. Now, this mailbag question came in a while back from Cody, who asked if year 1, year 2, or neither was the fluke with Sonny Dykes whilst at TCU. The interesting thing is his 2-year stint so far at TCU is the inverse of the first 2 years of his 3 previous coaching stops. So previously at SMU in year 1, he went 5-7. In year 2, he went 10-3. That was the only 10-win season he had at SMU. They were still trying to come back from, the death penalty in college football. Thanks for nothing, NCAA. At Cal, he went 1-11 in year 1, 5-7 in year 2. At Louisiana Tech, he went 5-7 in year 1, 8-5 in year 2. Typically, his teams have improved, but the lightning in the bottle season came in year 1 for him. And so I almost write that off and say, no, I think Sonny Dykes is going to have a better team. I think he can have one of those 5-7 to 8-4, 9-3 turnarounds. And if that's the case in the Big 12, you can push to make the conference championship game. I think that first year was a one-off. You can call it a fluke if you'd like. But I think Sonny Dykes is a real solid football coach. He has succeeded at places where it's not easy to succeed. Cal is a difficult job. Just straight up. It is. It is not an easy place to be a head football coach. He was winning some football games there. He had an 8-5 season. That's about as well as they've done over the last 15, 20 years or so. Really, the last 15. It's been a struggle over there in Berkeley. He guided them to an 8-win season. SMU was completely down, irrelevant, but he had a 10-win season. Double digits with SMU. And now with TCU, which is one of the bigger brands now, football-wise, in the entire Big 12, I expect TCU to be one of the contenders this year. I don't think they're one of the top 2 or 3 favorites. I think that's reserved for Utah, for Arizona, for Kansas State, for Oklahoma State. But that next group of, hey, dark horse contender to get to the Big 12, I put TCU right near the top of that list. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.